And then let's let everyone in. Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Hope everyone is having a wonderful Wednesday evening. We are going to get started in just a minute or two. We just like to wait for some late arrivals to hop on the Zoom. But while we're waiting, if you'd like to put in the chat your name and where you're calling from, um, we love to see where all our volunteers are from. And also let us know how your week's going. Hump day halfway over. Anyone have any fun plans for the weekend? Hope everyone's doing well. Let's see, we have Gannon from Ephrata. Welcome.
Ephrata, Gannon is our new rod for the coordinated campaign this year. Welcome, Gannon.
Hey, Gannon. Oh, and
Welcome.
Jackie's here.
Yeah. And
Amazing.
Stephen Magnatis. Hi, Stephen. I see Beverly Malone here. I see Senator Malone.
Huh? I think that's Brian Nelson from Lancaster Stands Up. Hey, Brian. And there was someone, Linda is from the home of the pretzel. I think Linda was coming in from Hanover. So, hey, Linda.
Awesome. We have Kate from Wynwood. Great to see you today, Kate.
Looks like we have Pat Thomas here. Pat's our district leader out in the Garden Spot district of Lancaster County. Welcome, Pat.
Welcome, Pat. We have David from Lancaster. Abby from Wayne. Oh, yes, happy Passover, everyone, for those who are celebrating. Okay, we still have a couple more people joining, so we'll hang tight for just another minute or so. But if you just joined, welcome. We're going to get started in a minute. Right now, we're just introducing ourselves in the chat. Yeah, thank you all so much for being here. More people joining, let them in. Welcome, welcome, everyone. If you're just joining, we are going to get started in just a moment. We'll get started around, we'll give it one more minute, 7:05, because we still have a good amount of people joining.
I see Abby's here from Wayne, PA. I think Lisa Borowski is going to be Abby's state rep. We love Lisa. Um,
Lily, yes, we are recording this and we're going to send it out. You look for an email like tomorrow around noonish. Um, we'll get you the recording. Of course.
Awesome. I think we can kick it off. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight. We're super excited to have What Voters Deserve on our Zoom, giving us a presentation about the great work they've been doing in Lancaster County. Stella Sexton and Rep. Smith-Wade-El are going to kind of give us an overview of what they've been doing with What Voters Deserve. I think a lot of us on this call know about how important Lancaster has been in 2025. We were super excited at Turn PA Blue, and a ton of people on this call were making calls into Senator Malone's district for that special election, which we flipped against all odds by just, I think it was less than 1%.
Yep.
So every call mattered, every door people knocked mattered, and we're super excited to now work really hard to re-elect Senator Malone to a full term this November. And we've already done 2 phone banks. I think we've made over 10,000 calls, getting Democrats to request their mail-in ballots for the primary. So we're all in on Lancaster County. We're all in on flipping seats down ballot there as well. There's contentious state house seats that I think we have a chance to flip. So I'm going to pass it over to What Voters Deserve to hear about what we can do and what they are doing to make this happen. The show is yours.
All right. Thanks, Paris. Can you all see the presentation and still see us?
Yes, I think it would be better if you press the present button though.
Uh-oh. I thought I had. Hold on. Canva doesn't like that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You might have to unshare and reshare.
Yep.
This might be
Okay.
on the
In
wrong.
the meantime,
Sorry.
Izzy, why don't you introduce yourself and talk about what we've been doing?
Sure, absolutely. Hey, folks. So, State Rep Izzy Smith-Wade-El here from the 49th Legislative District. I'm here with Stella Sexton. We are partners in crime, and Stella is also our county vice chair here in Lancaster County. So, I am in my fourth year as a state representative. I came to this job from being city council president here in Lancaster. And I think the thing that, from that job that most frames this work for me, is that I would talk to folks all across the Commonwealth, Philly, Pittsburgh, what have you. And I would tell people about my city that is 40% Hispanic, that is 17% African American. And people would say, wait, what are you talking about? And we would see that when it came to efforts to do turnout in Lancaster County, that there are whole demographics, whole groups of people that are just not being engaged. And so this work for me is about bringing those communities to the fore, rebuilding trust and engaging folks in a way that helps us win elections. And the point of winning elections is putting people who are going to fight for us into power. And you can never count Lancaster County out. Like besides the incredible win, pardon me, of Senator Malone, who is on the call. Thank you for joining us, Senator, which Stella will not take enough credit for. We are also the largest county in the Commonwealth to not lose any Democratic vote share between 2020 and 2024. We actually went up about 0.5%, though it's hard to take credit for 0.5%. What I'm saying is this. We believe fundamentally that the path to all of the things that we believe are possible in Pennsylvania runs through Lancaster County, and we intend to punch at our weight class. Stella?
I mean, that's very well said, Representative. You did a good job of introducing me, I guess. But yeah, we here in Lancaster County have known for a long time that our demographics are changing, and that there's a lot of potential here. So starting in 2023 and through the presidential cycle and into last year, especially with the special election, we have been working in various ways and with all of the groups here in Lancaster County to organize that. But something really interesting happened in 2024, and I think we've all read the articles and thought about the fact that, here in Pennsylvania, especially in, the Philly area, there was not the turnout that we expected to have. And some of the reasons, there's really two reasons I like to think of that we outperformed some of the larger counties to our east. One of them is that we've been organizing in our independent living retirement communities, and we actually have another training coming up with my Aunt Janie, who is now also Izzy's Aunt Janie and Senator Malone's Aunt Janie, for that matter, in a couple weeks. So we'll talk more about that. But Izzy did something really interesting in 2024 to talk to voters here in Lancaster County that were at the time sort of not being persuaded by the coordinator. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about your initiative there.
Yeah, absolutely. And since, the thrust of what we're talking about is organizing across language, I believe two things are actually really true kind of universally. First, well, politics is about complaining. I want to kind of empower everybody because you can't address what you haven't named specifically. And that organizing is about saying like, hey, I see a problem. Do you see a problem? Let's come together and do something about it. But this started actually, I got a phone call from a trusted ally who had the authority to move some dollars at the tail end of 2024, probably, I'll say July, August. And they said, Izzy, you have a very Latino district out there. And I said, yes, my district is 39% Latino. And they said, okay, well, we have some dollars. Do you think you can organize a bilingual canvassing operation. And in about a month, we were up and going. And that fall, we knocked about 15,000 doors across 3 state house districts. And what we found just in the debriefs and talking to canvassers coming back is that the reaction of folks to being canvassed in their own language was really impressive. They were sharing information and insights and their experience in a way that we could, I thought, build on in the future. And then, the following year, Stella and I were looking around statewide and saying, there are some things that we want to see happening across the Commonwealth and especially in Lancaster County, and they're not happening. We didn't see that like really concerted effort to turn out, in particular, Latino and Spanish speaking voters, despite the fact that between the 2010 and 2020 censuses, only one racial and ethnic demographic group grew, and that was the Latino community. And like I said, when we started, a lot of folks aren't even aware that there are people of color really here in Lancaster County. They don't know this county is about 11-12% Latino out of some 563,000 people, which means that you're talking about a population of, 50, 60,000 people, probably upwards of 35,000 adults who, if they are turned out, can make the difference in key races. But as we know, have been disaffected, especially working class members of the African American and Latino communities. We're seeing a lower turnout among them than we've previously relied on. And so the next year we thought, wait, no, we've done this. We actually have the resources and the connection to pull people in and go out and reach those folks in an organized fashion. And that's kind of how What Voters Deserve was born.
Yeah. So Izzy and I have a belief, and you can see it there on the screen, that really by 2028, the path back to the White House runs through Pennsylvania, and winning Pennsylvania runs increasingly through Lancaster County. So this is a multi-year project, and our goal is to flip Lancaster County blue in the presidential by 2032. We firmly believe, and I spoke with the governor about a week and a half ago, and he also believes we will flip Lancaster County for Governor Shapiro this year, with the organizing that we're all doing, and certainly working together with the coordinated on that. This project is a multi-year project that is going to exist so that people feel like they're being talked to by the same group over and over again for years. So, our mission is to not only do bilingual canvassing, which is what we're here to talk about tonight, but also to do candidate recruitment, candidate training, making sure that we have resources, as we did last year, to support some small candidates, small meaning like small wards and boroughs type candidates, that, we had in many cases candidates who ran where we hadn't had Democrats running before because Senator Malone flipped their wards, particularly Elizabethtown Borough. We now have a Latino Elizabethtown Borough councilor named Matt Rodriguez, and we were able to put a little money into mail for him, things like that. So we are really trying to organize for the long term with this project. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit.
I hate to interrupt here since it's in such a flow. I just want to make sure, are you showing different slides since we're still on the title slide? If not, Marina can just share. Marina can just share.
I have them queued up. Do you want me to just share them?
Yeah, why don't you share it, Marina?
Okay, and just tell me next slide.
Yeah. I don't understand.
Sorry about that.
Okay, no, we're all good.
Sorry about that, y'all.
Sorry about that. It's okay.
Don't worry about it.
We'll email out the slide deck when we email the link.
Sounds good.
All right. I think we're on about 4 or 5.
Okay.
All right.
Next one?
Yep.
After this?
No, right there is good.
Right there's great.
Cool.
So I'll talk a little bit in more detail about what our approach is, and you can kind of see it summarized there. One of the most important things that we find is that for other language communities and our effort last year and ongoing into this year, we should say specifically, we weren't just engaging people bilingually in Spanish, but building on, kind of the victories that we've won here in Lancaster County. We have a new Asian American school director in Manheim Township, where last year, not to brag, but we did throw every elected Republican out of government down to the tax collector.
I am building a blue bubble around myself.
But, we mentioned what we were doing, and she said, "Oh, I think I know some folks who would like to do similar work, but in Mandarin." And so you remember how I was just saying folks didn't know about the African American and Latino community here in Lancaster. Well, she clued us in and was like, "Look, if you look at the data and you look at just what I experience in my life, there is a growing Asian American community here in Lancaster County, and we should try to turn them out." But with communities that are less engaged, that are less frequently talked to, obviously you're going to have a higher barrier in getting them regularly engaged in the political process. And, I just want to name, with everything that's going on in terms of federal politics, folks who are not white, folks who are immigrants, folks who are Latino, folks who are Asian American may feel intimidated right now, either disaffected or like someone is actively trying to intimidate them out of the political process. And that's because, the president and the, people he associates with actually are. And so we need to take a broader and deeper approach to engaging them. One of the most important things there is organizing year round. Part of our work is breaking out of the standard campaign cycle where nobody's talking to anybody, nobody's moving resources, nobody's sending mail, nobody's doing voter reg or mail ballot expansion until maybe September, October.
And I was just going to say, for some of you were making phone calls with me last night, but one of the reasons we are so excited to partner with Turn PA Blue on this is that, Paris and Marina, you and I have had a lot of conversations about how getting people to request their mail-in ballots early showed up in the data.
Right.
In Senator Malone's. So what we did something a little different, and you could actually see it as a test case. This isn't in the slides, but in the 36th State Senate District, which is most of northern Lancaster County, we chased people to get their mail-in ballot applications in February and March of last year because we had an election on March 25th, and we knew we were going to win it on mail-ins. Famously, we did win it on mail-ins, so much so that Elon Musk tweeted about it. So that was a good feeling. That the Republican was losing because of the mail-in ballot returns. What was interesting in that data is that when we got those folks to return their mail-in ballots in February and March, that those folks continued on through and they voted by mail at higher rates and returned them at higher rates all the way in November. And that helped us a lot in flipping school boards, flipping local government seats in the part of Lancaster County that is Senator Malone's district. So that year-round organizing actually does pay off. And unfortunately, the funding cycle for Democratic politics doesn't always line up with that. But again, that's why we're trying to have a multi-year project so we can invest in these things early. Next slide, Marina. Thank you so much. We're not going to go through this in too much detail, but we just kind of want to give you a picture of Lancaster County, what the population looks like. Now, these populations have probably grown since the last census in 2020. But some really exciting news last fall, all 5 judicial retentions won Lancaster County. Stella and Brandon Newman, who were the top of the ticket, for those of you who are out of state, were the top of the ticket judicial candidates in 2025, won 48%, countywide, a 4-point improvement from 23. We also had historic turnout in Lancaster City, the highest odd-year turnout in a century. And I think we can't take credit for having just an absolutely fantastic mayoral candidate, Jamie Arroyo, who is the first Latino mayor of Lancaster City. But I do think that the fact that we did 2 passes with bilingual canvassers through the most heavily Spanish-speaking parts of the city definitely had some impact on that as well.
Yeah.
And then, of course, and this may be a good time to mention what a lot of you may not know, Senator Malone is actually our first and only Latino state senator in Pennsylvania history as well.
Quite.
Yeah.
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 I just want to take an opportunity on this slide. You'll see a couple of the districts, just some of our goals for this year that we believe that we can accomplish.
I think that's on, it might be on a next slide.
Oh, okay. I just have the districts down there. No, you're good.
Yeah.
We can pop over.
Oh, sorry, it is coming up. But I wanted to go back to talking about, like Izzy said, we were the largest county in the Commonwealth not to lose vote share. Do you want to talk about the 41st? Do you want to talk about the 41st?
Sure. I am gonna. So, and forgive us for the back and forth. Senator Malone's race, that's crucial. And I think we really are building to win that one. I also want to talk about the 41st state rep district, because a lot of good organizing is about showing up, right? Like in our philosophy is about expanding to year-round organizing and also about flipping the notion of coattails. We believe that when we elect borough councilors, school board candidates, that builds to state legislative districts and so on, right? Like we're scaffolding upward, which we believe is important. And to that point, and also because Democrats have a 1-seat majority in the Pennsylvania House, I have lived through like 17 special elections, and frankly, I'm tired of it. I think it's really important that we pick up additional seats in the House. The 41st Legislative District is a district that Josh Shapiro won in 2022, and we did not have a Democrat on the ballot at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 2026. The governor is back on the ballot. And in that area, we flipped the school board. We elected the first Black elected official in Hempfield ever. We won Senator Malone's seat, and we really believe that the 41st, there's a gentleman running there named Brad Chambers, is possible as a part of winning Senator Malone's seat and flipping the county for the governor. Thank you for letting me throw that PSA in there.
Absolutely. And we'll circle back to that and say it more than once, because absolutely, and I know the senator's on board with all in on getting Brad Chambers elected as well. We've talked about some of this. That was a really exciting day, May 5th, when the senator was sworn in. That's both of us with the senator and Beverly Malone, who actually is running for state committee with me, and also now chairs our Lancaster Dems Black Caucus. So thanks for joining us, Beverly, tonight. We did increase we overperformed in the statewide judicial elections. One of the reasons we got going last fall is because we were concerned about the judicial election margin, and there sort of was no field plan for Lancaster County in 2025. Although we certainly had very strong local candidates knocking doors, we kind of wanted to make sure that we were covering those communities. Next slide, Marini. Okay, you want to go over that?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're here to talk about, like what we actually did. So last fall, we recruited a team of about 8 bilingual English-Spanish canvassers and 2 bilingual English-Mandarin canvassers, and we knocked targeted turfs in precincts all over the county, places where we could build turnout, and in particular, where increasing that turnout using our bilingual canvassers could put candidates over the top. And that includes places where, again, folks aren't often talking about engaging communities like this. So Manheim Township, but also Elizabethtown, Lampeter, Strasburg, and what have you. And what we saw in a very real way is that our targeted precincts exceeded, um, exceeded the turnout swing that was average across the county. Now, coming down to the increased contact rates, this is a thing that some of this is just like you have to see it and do it to believe it. In Lancaster County, on average, we have about a 20% contact rate. As far as I'm concerned, that's pretty standard.
For those who don't know, that it, like contact rate, meaning you knock the door, the person's on your list, they come outside and have a conversation with you.
Right.
That's a contact.
Yeah. Thank you. What we found was that our canvassers, reflecting what people look like back to them and speaking their language, had a higher contact rate of 28% on average. So they're talking to more people and they're moving more people from the conversation to actually showing up and voting. And I think, here, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, one of the things that was interesting about that, when you really dive into who we talked to, the canvasser at the door had a better rate of drawing that second person in the home out and talking to them too.
That's right.
And the gentleman you see in that picture there in the foreground with the sunglasses, Celso Messias, he's also my township commissioner. Celso canvassed with us and had an incredible 44% contact rate. We started out thinking, like, why is he getting through these turfs so slowly?
Yeah, I'm gonna be very honest. So you can see in the photo, there's Stella, there's Maria, there's David, there's yours truly, and then there's Celso. And when I was first looking at Celso's contact rate, I was like, okay, this person is marking down people they haven't talked to. You see that with canvassers all the time. But I happened to be walking home one day and he was canvassing a turf in my neighborhood on my block. And he had multiple families out on their porch talking to them, taking them through the questionnaire. And not everybody's going to be there, but when you're able to talk to folks in their language, you're able to get that second and third person out the door, which I think also brings me to a point of advice I want to give to everybody. There's some research out there that suggests that paid canvassers are less effective on average than volunteers. But if you look at that research, that's paid canvassers writ large as a whole, and it includes folks who like responded to a Craigslist ad. What we think our secret sauce was taking folks who were already engaged, already volunteered or engaged with democratic politics, with progressive politics, pardon me, and then expanding their capacity by compensating them and recognizing their language skills. I want to be so clear about this. At a time when we need to turn out African American, but particularly Latinx and Asian American voters to win, that second language is a real skill. Mm-hmm. It is a talent, and where possible, it deserves to be compensated. And so we operated from those principles. And I think the proof is kind of in the pudding in terms of our contact and turnout rates.
Yeah, I think that's very right. Marina, if you want to go on to the next slide. Yeah, so Lancaster County, again, and as we've had the conversation on the back end with funders, because, we obviously we think it's a great idea, but right. We have had to go out and convince other folks as well. We're doing this we're not paying ourselves. There's no real overhead. My dad built our website. We just kind of, we're doing this because we have to live here and we want to see change here. But what that means is that dollars go further. We're a cheap media market in Lancaster County. And also, there's just really not a lot of overhead or middlemen to get something like this off of the ground. And also because, there's volunteers who are excited about this. Some of our local school board slates were very excited about this, and we're saying like, yeah, oh my gosh, we can't get into that neighborhood, or we have low contact rates there. I wish I could talk to them in Spanish. And so, we partnered with those local campaigns last year, and we will partner, again this year with the coordinated and the House campaigns and the Malone campaign, to get into those areas where, there's just not enough volunteer bilingual canvassers to go around. So that's, yeah, just another part of it, that we're able to do this with relatively low overhead. And because we've got such a great group of volunteers here, we're able to pull from that pool for people, with special language talents. In that picture you see on the right there is Cindy Lamb. She was just elected to Manheim Township School Board. She also serves on the Governor's Commission for AAPI.
Yep. And Wei, one of our bilingual Mandarin canvassers.
Yep. Next slide.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can see kind of here what our goals were and are to keep this moving forward. And you can see I want to really drive home the year-round voter engagement piece. So right now we are on the cusp of launching a deep canvassing program in turfs where we have low turnout voters that are heavily Spanish speaking, or heavily Mandarin speaking. Sorry, when I say low turnout voters, low turnout precincts and areas. So we're going more granular than just a precinct, down to the turf level. And just to say to them, like, look, yes, we're here to get you to vote. Yes, we want you to sign up for mail-in ballot expansion. But while we're here, will you tell us what matters to you? Which, when you ask that question, you're accomplishing two things. One, you're making it clear to someone that this interaction goes a little bit beyond the transactional. And the second thing that you're doing, and I recommend that, y'all do this in your communities as well, when you ask those folks, you can take that data and use it to get a sense of how you should message later in the cycle with your comms across social media or in mail or in texts. Just really take the opportunity to ask people who are not being asked what it is that matters to them. And as the point of why we're here, a lot of people aren't being asked because, pardon me, the person who would do the asking doesn't speak their language. We're gonna, we think we're going to be able to build from here to victories in 2027. So we're going to be relying on really significant turnout, not just for what we're going to do in 2026, but in 2027, you may have seen that one of our county commissioners was named one of the top 10 most notorious election deniers in the country.
Actually, the same county commissioner that we beat in that senatorial race.
Oh, that's correct.
Yes.
And so flipping that board of commissioners, right, is going to be key to certifying the presidential election results in 2028, positioning ourselves within the state house and organizing larger numbers of voters across communities is also going to have an impact on redistricting, making sure that the voters that we're talking to get the districts they deserve and the representation that they deserve, which is good for everybody.
Right. So this year, like I said before, we're also going to win Lancaster County for the Shapiro Davis ticket. The governor was within 3,000 or 4,000 votes in 2022. We're very confident that that will happen, especially with Gannon hard at work in Lancaster County already. We are going to re-elect Senator James Andrew Malone to the 36th state Senate seat. Re-electing Senator Malone is the only path to a Senate majority and a trifecta this year or in 2028, but we're not going to wait till 2028. We're going to do our part to make sure that that trifecta happens in 2026. And then, of course, incredibly important to flip the 41st State House District. There is also one other State House District that is like a stretch goal for us. That's the 97th. But the 41st, we got to do it.
Yep.
Yep. Next slide.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is just a continuation of all of our vision. Those municipal and school board seats, like I said, remember our philosophy is that we build from the bottom up. Our canvassing operations, our electoral operations scaffold upward, and they're going to help us again, like not just secure the presidential election results, but it's going to help us to elect additional state rep candidates, and then hopefully soon after state senate candidates. Like Stella said, we're doing this because we live here and we have a vision of three, maybe four state reps that are Democrats in Lancaster County, of two Democratic state senators who represent the value of the folks who actually live here. And then ultimately, we're going to take Pennsylvania back for the president, and we're going to be kidding ourselves if we think when we do that, it's not going to be because we were able to meaningfully engage with communities of color on their terms. That's the only path to the like not just the electoral victories that we want, but the electoral victories that we need. As they say, a republic, if you can keep it. And I think we're seeing a preview of what it looks like to not keep it. And so like building back towards that requires, pulling up the participation of communities who have historically been disaffected. I've been talking a lot about Asian American, about Latino voters. Wherever you are, don't forget your retirement communities and other senior voters. Incredibly reliable, and can be engaged even in precincts that you might already think are overwhelmingly Republican. That was a lot of our success for the past 2 years.
Yep, and we will. I know Paris and Marina will send out information on that upcoming training on retirement communities as well. I think we're ready for the next slide. Yeah, so I wanted to mention, and feel free to jump in here, Paris or Marina, but we are really excited to be able to partner with Turn PA Blue. We do have some folks who are doing bilingual phone banking for us manually, the old-fashioned way, one at a time, for those of you who have done that. But we're really excited to be able to partner and do some auto dialers into those heavily Spanish-speaking precincts. We are actively seeking volunteers anywhere around the country to help us with this project. And you can email us if you have those language skills. We would love to target Lancaster County and some upcoming bilingual phone banks as well.
Can I tell a story to close real quick?
Please.
A guy named Ray Ramirez, who I think Ray's on the call.
Hi, Ray.
Hey Ray. Ray was one of our bilingual canvassers last year and will be again. So we had a phone bank into Lancaster County in Spanish, and there was a woman who had trouble getting out of her apartment, spoke Spanish, but was on this third floor walk up. And so one of our phone bankers communicated this need, and I was able to reach out to Ray, who walked her down the stairs and to her polling place on election day. And I'll tell you what, she's never going to forget that. And I'll be honest, I'm never going to forget that. I'm really grateful to Ray in specific, but also to the phone bankers. And then I think when you do this in a relationship-based fashion, you're able to have those interactions, take those actions that may seem small, but are going to resonate forward. And that's the kind of energy we want our community to believe that we are willing to literally walk them to the polling place if that's what it takes to get them to the polling place. So That's our story, and we're sticking to
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. I think there's one more slide. It just says our website and our Act Blue. We are a Hardside Pennsylvania political committee. I am working on spinning off a 501c4 that will have sort of a similar mission. Yeah, that's pretty much our story. And we would love to take questions, but also if the senator's still on the call and if everyone's agreeable to it, I would love for Senator Malone to give any comments or feedback that he has. James, I think you can unmute.
Yeah, yeah, I can. I thought I'd
I
clicked it before and it didn't work, but hey, there you go. Hey, I just absolutely at the start I sent I'm sorry, a message. I really, really appreciate all of the work and assistance and volunteer and encouragement that we've been getting. I will say up until 3 years of age, Spanish was my only language. And then I went silent for 6 months and I've never been able to get it back. I don't know what. But I had a wonderful experience with Izzy in my front room, helping me get together just for a get out the vote message that we put out. And anything that we can do to try and reach people where they're at and where they think I think is incredibly important. So I'm really proud of you guys for putting this together and for all the work that you guys have been doing. So
well, thank you, Senator.
I just want to say all that. So
Thank you, Senator.
yeah.
Any questions?
Oh, not from me specifically. I'm looking through.
One thing we should mention that I think we forgot to talk about that we did was that we have a Spanish language radio station here in Lancaster, and it reaches all of the county, right? Or most of the county anyway.
Yeah, and into Berks.
And into Berks County. And so last year when we were focusing on turnout for the judicials and also starting to try to let our Latino community know that Senator Malone is also Latino, he was kind enough to sort of record a PSA to air on Radio Centro, letting folks know that the judicial elections were important and to come out and vote. So we appreciate Senator doing that for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have one question, and if anyone else has questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. But as I was thinking, and if you think of questions afterwards, we're happy to connect everyone and get the answers you want. But I had one question while thinking through this. What do you think that you did in Lancaster that was unique to Lancaster? And then what do you think is transferable to maybe the rest of Pennsylvania and maybe even nationally? Since I'm sure there's people on this call, people who are going to watch it later who are maybe sitting in Adams County, or maybe they're sitting in Virginia and they're wondering we love Lancaster County, but what can we do right here at home? What can I do to start today? Of course, we'd love for them to hop on our phone bank. But in their own communities, what can they take away from the success you've found in Lancaster?
Stella is a big proponent of the particularity of Lancaster, so I'll let her take the first half of the question. For my part, I will say the thing that I think is deeply transferable. I'm about to nerd out, so everybody brace yourself. I love a really large book. And so Robert Caro's Master of the Senate. It's about Lyndon Baines Johnson. And there's a quote from LBJ in there that says, if you do everything, you will win. Which is not to say that like everybody should do everything, but what is actually really very transferable is the fundamentals. Nothing that we're doing here is, a brand new innovation. We said we want to talk to people where they are, the way that they're most comfortable, which means on their doorstep and in their language. We said that we have volunteers who want to engage with people and they have meaningful skills that deserve to be compensated. And it turns out doing those fundamentals worked. Stella pointed out early on in this process, hey, a lot of folks are registered for mail-in ballots because of the special earlier this year. We should build on that. I often tell people about a man named Bayard Rustin, who's the gay socialist black Quaker who organized the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. And he did that with a landline and a Rolodex. Really going back to fundamentals and relationships is transferable everywhere, even if you don't have the same demographics as Lancaster County. I think oftentimes there's so much going on politically and there's so much noise that it can be hard not to be like a deer in headlights with all the varying advice. But really like finding organized ways to talk directly to the people on their terms about the issues that they tell you matter. Like if you make that your core, I think our success is transferable everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's funny that you say that like I'm more about the particularity of this place because I say to him that he's the Lancasteriest person I've ever met. We were both born here. So it may be hard for us to articulate like what's different about Lancaster because this is normal to us. But I think something that Lancaster County has going for it is just a really strong volunteer culture and a really strong sense of community. And also just a long history of welcoming immigrant and refugee communities into Lancaster County, in part because of the Mennonite refugee resettlement efforts that started here years and years ago. I think also, there's credit to my county party chair for building back a caucus system that allowed people to engage in a Latino caucus, and that is a sort of way for people to engage beyond becoming a committee person or whatever, so they can engage in that language and community and feel that they're part of the process. So I think developing a caucus system for different communities in through your county party is always a really great way to go if you have that ability. And the other thing I would say is just find people who are experts in things and get them to teach you what they know. Right. We are lucky that just sort of because of our proximity and because we're in Pennsylvania, there happen to be a lot of sort of local experts on things like data who live here and are willing to help us out and give us pointers and teach us things that we may not know. And that allows us to sort of keep growing our skills and pull people in to help us. So I think just good old fashioned, like stating what your mission is, why you want to do it, being nice to people and asking them to help you and then thanking them so that we can all achieve our goals. There's nothing really complicated about it. It's just a matter of getting up every day and doing the work.
Totally. I see a question from iPad. We'd love to know iPad's name, but it is a good question. Why is mail-in recruitment important? Is it because you want to prevent, people getting busy on election day? That's definitely one of the major reasons that vote by mail has been so revolutionary. It allows working people, especially single mothers, single fathers who have to pick up their kid from school to be able to vote in advance. I know my mom, who's actually now one of Izzy's colleagues, State Rep Melissa Schusterman, she missed a few elections because she was working and had to pick me up from YMCA aftercare at 6 p.m. at night from Schuylkill Elementary School. So that's why what vote by mail has essentially liberated working people and have allowed them to be able to get their votes in on their terms. Another really important reason why we focus so much on vote by mail recruitment is because once we get someone to sign up for a vote by mail ballot in the primary, if they check the annual box, they will get a ballot in the general election. And that essentially takes the load off of us in the sense that we don't need to get a ballot in their hands again. We can just follow up with them and make sure they have the information they need to vote in that election. I don't know if anyone wants to add to that.
Well, I mean, I guess all of those things are true. The other thing that I would say is that if you have folks, and listen, mail-in ballot voting is hard in Lancaster County because until we reelect James Malone and send him a couple colleagues, Democratic colleagues, unfortunately, mail-in ballots are controlled. Some aspects of mail-in voting are controlled on a county by county level in Pennsylvania, which means unlike the blue counties to our east, we do not have drop boxes. We do not often have very much in terms of extended hours or easy early vote locations like you guys have, for example, in Allegheny County, Montgomery County. It is difficult here because our county government is being run by an election denier. And so we have had to sort of train our mail-in ballot folks to vote properly. And a lot of them are very, very diligent about that because they've been doing it over multiple cycles. But the other thing that does is that's fewer voters you have to contact, right? So I return my mail-in ballot on the very first day that it comes. And as soon as that's recorded, everything stops. So that means that reduces the size of your mail universe. If you are doing, if you're a campaign spending money to send mail to voters, you can literally take those people out of your mail universe and save yourself money. If you are sending out canvassers, those folks who have been already voted by mail and their vote is recorded, you can skip their houses because they've already voted. And so it sort of builds a firewall. And the reason that, as we got to like March 22nd, that we knew that we had a real shot at winning the state Senate seat was because we had built that firewall with Turn PA Blue's help and with the help of a lot of other folks all around the state and around the country. We had built that mail-in ballot firewall to the point that it was like, oh my gosh, we didn't know how many of those votes were ours, but we knew by party differential that we were doing really well. So it saves you money and it allows you to focus on the folks who haven't voted yet. And time is everything in a critical election. So Abby, I see you said you've avoided mail-in voting because of the deniers. Your vote does count, even though like our county is being run by an election denier, those ballots are counted. I have sat there myself, and a lot of people don't know this, both parties get to send and campaigns get to send representatives in. Very often we send in lawyers to observe the counting and opening of the mail-in ballots. There's a whole process for if a ballot can't be read, that each party gets to make a challenge to that. I have watched that process myself. That process is fair and accurate. I have every confidence in sending in my mail-in ballot that vote will count. And that is because states run elections, not the federal government. President Trump cannot change how we run our election here in Pennsylvania as much as he would like to pretend on the internet that he can. So mail-in balloting is secure. And that is something that you will hear voters say. We heard it on the phone bank last night. It is basically a voter intimidation tactic by the president to try to make people believe that mail-in voting does not work when in fact it does.
Yeah.
If I can respond really quick, Abby made a really good comment about people who are worried about the threats from ICE and things like that. Back when President Clinton and Bob, when Bill Clinton and Bob Dole were on the ballots, I happened to be in Cleveland, Tennessee. And, I walked up to that poll and had a procession of 10 large white guys who were about my size, one of them literally loading a shotgun, saying, "Hey, do you know how you're going to vote?" "Yes, sir, absolutely. I got this, no problem." "President Dole, right? You're fine." Then I went in, voted, came back out, drove back to, the university I was at. That election led to laws that Congress allowed to die out that blocked that kind of behavior from polling places. So we have an entire generation of people that have not experienced that extreme level of intimidation just to show up and do your, duty of voting and of being a decent citizen. And that mail-in ballot is a way for people who are, like me, who have some of that trauma and maybe aren't up for dealing it again, to go through a safe and effective way of fulfilling their duty. So there are a lot of benefits to it beyond. But I will say to every single individual who has the fortitude, regardless of the pressure, to just show up and be there and show your support, volunteer at polling places, anything you can do. It is a benefit to a multitude of people. They need to see positive, not just the negative. So thank you guys.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank you,
Senator.
Senator. Yeah, I mean, thank you for everyone. If I don't see any more questions in the chat, I just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I want to thank Izzy and Stella for that amazing presentation. And do you guys have any final send-offs?
Gosh, any final send-offs? Thank you all. Yeah, no, seriously, thank you all for being here tonight. We know that this comes out of your evening, and that you are here means that you want to engage in this work meaningfully, and we appreciate that. We also know it's the first night of Passover. So Pesach Sameach to anybody who is celebrating, and we will, this is going to be recorded and it's going to be shared out. So folks are going to continue to have access. So yeah, I just want to thank you for taking the time. We are going to this year. We are going to keep flipping seats that people never thought could be flipped, and it's going to be because of folks like you on this call. So
We appreciate you so much, and we appreciate Turn PA Blue so much. And thank you so much. And Stephen, thank you for all your work in Lancaster County too. Thanks,
Thank you
everyone.
guys so much. Thank you all for joining. Look out for an email from me tomorrow with a follow-up. I'll give everyone a link to the recording in case you want to watch it again. Or also, we'll put the slides in that email as well. And stay tuned. I think we mentioned we're going to have a bilingual phone bank in the near future. We're still ironing out a couple details, but look out in your emails, and hopefully we'll see you at some of those phone banks. And I put links in the chat for what voters deserve if you'd like to learn more, and then some of our Turn PA Blue links as well. Thank you all so much and have a
Thank
great night.
you. Have a great night. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.